guys, BBI here. I want to stop and say thanks for tuning in and checking out whatever the video is about that's about ready to come up next. If you could take a minute and hit subscribe, I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you enjoy what you've seen here, make sure to hit the like button. We'd greatly appreciate your support. Anyhow, guys, all that aside, let's get on with the show. Boys and girls and all the ships at sea, this is what we're going to do here with me today. Listen, this is the Eliminator 650. This really kind of throws back to another day, man. This is the most beautiful 80s, 90s piece of tech I've had in here in a hot minute. I'm here to tell you. Let's see, here's our preamp circuit. And this is going to be our keying transistor. He goes, I hooked this thing up, it worked for one key and then just stopped keying. Oh, really? He goes, yep. Make it right. This is kind of skullcracker-ish. This way of thinking, Dominator, kind of Foxy build style of boxes, which is cool, in my opinion. Anywho, first things first, all things aside, primary things taken care of first and second, but not third but last. We're going to get rid of this stuff, this horse shit. We're going to put some good power wire in there. We're going to move the feed point over here. Sorry, move the feed point in over here. We're going to put it right down here. And then we're going to see what's going on from there. So, this does give me pause for the cause, because see, we got one kind of resistor here, another kind of resistor here, different one here, and then this one here. So I don't know. These aren't even the same value, which can be bad. That can be very bad. All right, and then let's see what else we got. Oh, I got to retape this down. The double-sided sticky tape after 30 years wore out. And it could have been his problem. It could have rotated forward and maybe arced here to ground or something. We'll figure that out. I'm going to clean this up, clean these up, and have a feeling I'm going to have to replace that. First and foremost, we are going to go ahead and put some new power wires on this thing. So let me get that done, and I shall return. Man, I was sitting here playing around. Did the power wire upgrade, put some spiral wrap on it to help protect the positive lead, put some ferrite on it to block the positive rail. If we go and look at the original, this is what they call zip cord. See how it's hooked together? This is our original positive and negative leads, and they were attached right over here. There's no ferrite block on this. Moreover, there's no, we got one single 0.02. Okay, well, close enough. Okay, we've got a little bit of AC cap suppression there, but there's nothing keeping RF. Transformers are directly coupled to the board. Now, okay, that works. But you've got to put some ferrite on the output lead to keep RF from running out the positive side, causing a leak. So I did that, upgraded this here, flip the amp around, I go to start getting ready to test it, and this is when I see it. Now, I've been pointed at it the whole time. You see it yet? You see it yet? That is the leg and everything on the relay attached to that wire. This is your input RF. I'm not saying that's our problem, but if you can't get the watts in the box, you can't get the watts to come out the box. Just saying. So I get to replace this relay. So let me rip all this shit off here real quick, and let's get on with the dang show. So some might be asking themselves, what are you doing, BBI? I'm chasing the heat. What I mean by chasing the heat is this output resistor, the combiner resistor, this little half-watt resistor, that's all they used, is getting screaming hot. So the first thing I did is I pulled the output capacitor, which is 83 puff, where the capacitance is fine. And so now I pulled off the output swamping capacitors that sit over the top of the output transformer. And we are this is supposed to be 580, 5%, and it is reading 663. It's not a good sign. So the resistor's not burning up, but it's getting pretty screeching hot. Houston, I think we found a problem right out the chute. This is supposed to be a 390, and it's reading 22.8 puff. Yay! Okay, so if memory serves me, this should be roughly in the 1200 range. So here's another 680 that's reading 664 puff, so that's low also. By the way, this amp is working. And this one reads 390, so here was our imbalance issue right here with this capacitor. They're stacking the capacitors because they didn't have metal clads. Bottom line. So these two capacitors are low, that one's actually on par, and that one's dead. So there's a 300 puff capacitance between that transformer and this transformer. So therefore the swamping effect that's taking place on top, the secondary transformer is they're not in sync with each other. Hence the reason it shows up in here as heat. Like I said, chasing the heat. Giggity giggity. Now the other thing I did while I was off camera is I placed all the output or the input coupling resistors. I changed them all down to 10 ohm. This thing's making 700 watts of power with this whole mess being wrong. Sorry, I just took a big drink of water. This whole mess being out of imbalance. So now we're going to build some KVA rated parts to make this happen. So now I'm going to go make 1200 puff capacitors. Shall return. Well, I ain't chasing the heat no more. I'm here to tell you what. I almost want to take this 1446 driver out and put a 2879 in it and get a full kilowatt out of this thing. Oh, that's cute. All right, so what the hell? It says high on the front, and it's two directional arrow. Anyhow, up's to the right. Oh. It's a 1000 watt slug and peak over there, by the way, right there. 1000 and average 5 watt slug and reverse. We know the routine, right? So I'll show you drive. I'm hitting with this with like a 20 watt radio. 1 watt dead key, by the way. 1 watt dead key gets you a 100 watt carrier. Swinging to a very solid 800 watts. God, I love old school. Freaking love old school. Anyhow, we are looking right here. This camera does horrible with blues. If we look right here is the output resistor. Now look at how hot the output transformers are. Cores are super saturated at this point, at this watt level. We could probably squeak a little bit more if we went and got a bigger core in there and put a little bit more drive into it, but what we're looking at is that output balancing resistor. It's not flaring up. It would show up as a vertical, or pardon me, a horizontal hot bar right here. We got all the heat out of it. All we had to do was put metal clad Simcoes in it. So what I did is I changed out the output capacitors to metal clads right here. Now, you know, I gotta admit something. I made a mistake. I have been up since 5:30 this morning. It's now 12:51 in the morning, and I've got to go to bed. I'm deliriously dingy. But I'm sitting there and I'm putting these 1,000 puff caps with another 200 puff cap attached to it, and I'm twisting the legs together, and I'm getting ready to walk over and solder them together, and I put the capacitor down and I went, wait a minute. 680 plus 390 is like 170. Shit. And I'm over here, 1200. Sorry guys, 1:30 in the morning after being up since 5:30 this morning. I'm dragging a little bit behind. But the moral of the story is, this thing's right. Now, I'm guessing this was made in the 80s, 90s sometime, right? All we did was a little bit of a power wire upgrade, replaced the older wire, went with a little bit higher gauge, modified the one-pill driver section power wire, and replaced these capacitors, replaced the 10 ohms so everything was balanced, and then I retuned it. So give me a second here. Now, don't quote me on this, but I might have me an adult beverage tonight. This has been a long, stressful day. Oh, God, so many phone calls today, and it was Saturday even. Okay, so I'm not going to have an adult beverage. Waste of my time. Preamp's working on, variables all the way up. Let's do the official. 1,000 watt slug and peak, 1,000 average, 5 watt slug and reverse back from the bird, 10,000 watt dummy load. Don't use anything more than a 35 watt radio, RCI 2950, 5 watt slug between the 2950 and the Eliminator 650. Hello. Ooh. I'm going to need to work on that. Hello. Oh, I know why it is. Because the RF comes in, goes across, comes down these wires. Comes around, physically goes through a switch, comes back out, goes through this little transistor, comes back around, goes back out this switch, and then comes all the way back around, and then to here. Might want to say a little bit of an induction bump, maybe? Not done yet. Take 3. Okay, so just by adding a couple capacitors here and here at the right points in the circuit, check this out. Hello. 20 watts coming through it. Hello. Hello. That's as good as we're going to get. So the reason that's really important, and I say this in multiple videos, is you want the RF that's coming from your antenna to be able to pass as smoothly through the amplifier as we can get. That way you can actually hear what's going on the outside world. Why is that important, you ask, BBI? Well, radio is a two-way street. Just like in every conversation. See, not all of you can be lucky enough to stand in your shop and talk to yourself all the time like I do, and not have to worry about anybody responding to you most of the time. Hi, guys. It is late. Anyhow, you're wanting to actually be able to hear. So if your standing wave going through the amplifier is too high, your SWR through the box, it works both ways. Your radio is going to see the resistance of when you're trying to talk through the amplifier when the amplifier is off. And in turn, it's going to cut down your receive. Because the RF coming down the antenna is going to see the same amount of resistance as the radio sees as the RF's coming back through. So we basically had to rebuild the whole transmit section. We rebuilt the output section. The only thing we haven't really had to mess with is the input section on this thing, and I'm leaving it alone. The other thing I'm going to do is, before this thing leaves here, is I'm going to put myself a little bit of non-conductive polish on this thing to make sure these screws can't back out on these tuners, because where I've got them set is a beautiful, beautiful thing. By the way, hooked up the red LED again, so now that's working. This wire was broken right here. Okay, so 20 watts worth of drive. We've got a low pass-through tune now. Getting every little drop of 800 watts out of this thing with a single 1446 hitting 4 Toshiba 2879. $105 a piece transistors, soon to be $150 a piece transistors. Remarkably low input tune. Now listen to me when I'm telling this to you, brother. Mr. Frank, listen. This is a 30 watt only box. 30, 35 at the most. Anything past that in this little 1446, bye-bye. See ya. Now, if that does ever happen, I want you to send this back to me, and I want you to let me put a 2879 in this spot. And we'll go ahead and we'll go find them other 200 watts that's in this box, because they're in here. But man, you're done. This thing is done. It's all cleaned up. Everything is right on this thing. Input tune, pass-through tune, power wires, on-off switch, LED indicator, preamp, keying circuit, new relay. Done. Gonna last you, well, this box is, let's see, 80, 90, 2010. It's almost 40 years old. And I'm sure it'll be around a lot longer after I'm done doing this little hobby, even though I'm going to try and be the last one with the porch lights on. Gentlemen, my name is BBI, and without a shadow of a doubt, I am the biggest mud duck in Idaho. Come check us out, www.bbiamps.com. Come find me on Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, Instagram, and right here on the YouTube Gargler. And if you are one of the very lucky few, the very chosen few, the very few that Mother Nature lets me tickle with a little bit of RF from my antenna to yours, consider yourself a clit tickler lucky. Write that day down on the calendar. Because every once in a while, I let myself talk on my own radio. Guys, I gotta go. I'm off to do other things. Now I've got to do one more for Mr. Frank. It's not this nice. It's not. But we're going to make it this nice. And just think, he wanted me to scrap this amplifier to repair the next one that's coming up. And I looked at that and I went, are you kidding me? Do you see why? This thing's beautiful. I'd love to have this little guy. It's a champ. Gentlemen, I got to go. See ya. Bye. Thank you, Mr. Frank, for sending this out. And I appreciate everybody sending me projects. I love you guys. Thanks.